Hey everyone, I'm Geoff Gronlund with OPA, and I'm here today with Sam Reynolds. Sam is going to be the keynote speaker at the OPA retreat this October in Park City, Utah, and as well as a track leader for a 3-day immersion track. Sam, nice to have you with us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your track and your keynote address?
Yeah, I sure can, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be at the retreat and going to um, bright, beautiful Utah. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah,
And so I'm doing a predictive astrology boot camp, and so we're going to be covering various different techniques, both classical and modern, uh, in these 3 days. So we're going to be looking at classical techniques such as the distribution of the bounds, Zodiacal Releasing, Firdaria, and Profections. And so that may be dedicated for the first day. And the second day is going more classical to modern. So this is going to be solar, lunar, and other planetary returns, and what that tells us about understanding more about our forecasts for ourselves, for people. And
yeah,
then the last day is going to be more exclusively modern, solar arc directions, secondary progressions, tertiary, and minor progressions. And it's more a workshop format. That's how I'm envisioning it.
hmm,
Obviously, there's going to be some part of it where I'm lecturing, but another part of it is putting things into practice, testing it with uh, people's charts as they volunteer them, or partners, or whoever they have permission to share.
yeah. Well, that sounds like,
So that's, oh,
yeah,
sorry, I
really,
didn't cut you off.
no, it just sounds really, really all-encompassing for predictive techniques. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it covers a lot. There's still a lot of different techniques that one could use, but I think this is really cool. And what and most of these techniques I use on a regular basis. In fact, most of them I use almost every session, even if I'm just doing a 30-minute session. And so it does require a lot of, processing.
Right.
But I look to see how things interleaf and interweave. Um, More so than saying like, okay, I'm looking at this and then I'm looking at that and then blah blah blah. Usually there's some measure of a preponderance of a theme that's
Right.
emerging in that person's life. And so you can get various testimonies about that. So that's what I'm doing as part of my track. My keynote is very different. And the keynote, the title is Pluto and Aquarius at the Threshold Still. And so I'm evaluating, this is partly, and I mentioned this in the description, I'm inspired by John Michael Greer's book, The Twilight of Pluto, Astrology and the Rise and Fall of Planetary Influences, and other research, because as we're discovering Kuiper Belt objects and uh, other bodies in terms of looking at Pluto's demotion from a planet to more dwarf planet, what does that mean for astrology?
Hmm.
And what does that mean as related to our consciousness? One of the things that John Michael Greer highlights is that he believes that as we as we have evolved as a species, discovering art, discovering writing, it seems to happen simultaneously or along a certain trajectory as discovering planets as well.
Hmm.
And so, for instance, we first started observing Venus, and so crafts and things related to Venus probably were instrumental. Now, when I say discovering Venus, obviously we saw the sun and the moon, so I'm not talking about the sun and the moon,
Yeah, of course.
but that is part of that. But Mercury's hard to see as it's
Hmm.
so close to the sun. So it's interesting that writing comes after craftsmanship, right? In terms of
Yeah.
making particular things. And so Mercury is an illustration how we then went toward writing, and then Mars in terms of protecting more of the agrarian culture that we became, and then Jupiter in terms of developing priesthoods and all the other things related to religion and philosophy, and then
Sure.
Saturn administrative aspects of it. Um,
Civilization. Yeah.
yeah, in terms of kind of framing what we call civilization.
Right.
So as we've done this with other bodies, asteroids, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, with Pluto's demotion, what can we learn about that? And as we're discovering other objects, and as we think about going beyond this solar system, because I've been preparing for a keynote address that I'm giving at NORWAC on what I'm dubbing as interstellar astrology. So that's gotten me thinking about how we think about planets, both in terms of settlement and simultaneously. And, when I say settlement, how we might branch into different other avenues of astrology. And then beyond that, what's the implication for us still on Earth? So that's what I'll be kind of tying in a little more in depth than what I might do at NORWAC.
I see. Awesome, Sam. Well, that's really fascinating because it does definitely, as we have discovered these planets and noticed them throughout history, what has been going on at the time that they were discovered and, you know, delineated, if you will, and what was going on in civilization throughout that period, those periods. That's really, really cool. So you'll
Yeah.
take into account like the other dwarf planets like Eris and so on that are being
Sedna.
discovered. Yeah. Excellent, Sam. Thank you.
Yes.
Can you tell me what skill level your track is kind of geared towards? It sounds like it may be a little bit more
Thank you.
intermediate advanced.
That's correct. I would say
Okay.
more intermediate. This would not be something that would be advantageous for someone who's just beginning their journey in astrology.
Okay, great. Thanks. And Sam, how long have you been studying astrology and what type of astrology do you practice?
I'm a hybrid, meaning that I draw deeply from traditional astrology, but
Yeah.
I'm not adverse to modern techniques and ideas, as you
Yeah,
can see from my module, from
sure.
my track. Um, and I started off 33 years ago studying and was more introduced to psychological astrology, like many of us.
Yeah.
Um, and I was introduced more to traditional astrology about in 2000, 2001.
Okay.
And so that's where I've also been kind of, plumbing the line as
Right.
well.
All right. Well, Sam, thank you. I mean, this is going to be really amazing, and we're very blessed to have you as our keynote at the OPA retreat, and of course, also to be giving a track. I haven't seen you since iAstrologer, I believe, in Tucson, and I'm really excited to see you again in
Yeah.
October.
Since you took my photos.
What's that? Yeah, I did. I
Yeah,
took
too.
your photos, and I always love
Yeah. So
seeing
when
them.
people,
Yeah, when you use them, sometimes I love it.
yeah.
It's
So
awesome.
when people see, when you see those photos, guys, it's Geoff Gronlund. So
That's me. Well, Sam, thanks for being with us today. I just want to talk about the retreat for a minute. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. We've got this beautiful retreat coming up in October. Can you see that okay, Sam? Hang on, it's actually just loading.
yeah, I can.
All right. Yeah, we have just an amazing retreat coming up this October, October 16th to the 21st in Park City, Utah. The foliage in October is going to be beautiful. And of course, the mountainous setting, the pastures, everything. It's a really beautiful setting. It's butt up against a nature preserve, and it's just going to be a stunning location. And that's the special thing about OPA retreats is we really tend to have um, more immersive and intimate gatherings with people, so that the tracks that we offer are 6 to 9 people max. So you're really getting to know one another well and maybe a little bit better than if at a typical conference with a large room and lectures all day. So it's a really special experience. We look forward to having everybody um, getting to know one another well and old friends reuniting, like me and Sam seeing each other again. And a little quick run through of the weekend. Arrival day on Wednesday the 16th. Welcome reception that evening. The next day, yoga in the morning, breakfast on your own. I think 6 or 7 talks the next day, presentations all day, of which Sam is the keynote speaker at the end. And we'll have a catered banquet dinner Thursday night. Friday through Sunday are the immersion tracks, as well as peer group and consulting skills. And Monday is departure day. If you're interested in doing any room sharing and sharing a room with somebody, you can contact Angelina from the OPA website, opaastrology.org. Her email address is there. And of course, opaastrology.org also has all the information you need to know about the retreat, including the schedule, all the tracks, descriptions of the tracks, the bios of all the track leaders. And of course, you can see we have a fantastic array of astrologers from around the world coming to the event. Hot tubs on the balconies of the suites, 2-story townhouses for all the immersion tracks. Just really, really beautiful. Stargazing with Gemini Brett and daily yoga. So plenty of stuff to enjoy. And really, like I said, and Sam, you'll attest to this, I'm sure, the OPA retreats tend to be a little smaller, a lot more intimate, and in a lot of ways, a lot more enjoyable. So
I agree. Yep.
yeah. Well, Sam, thanks again for being with us today. And I look forward to seeing you in October at the retreat. And thanks again for being such a valuable part of the OPA community.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome, Sam. All right, we'll talk soon. Bye,
Right.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.